There are many therapists out there who are so prideful that they're not willing to get out of their own way. And I share this not just with therapists, but like health practitioners. The challenge of working with health professionals is that you're too smart for your own good. If you're a therapist looking to grow your private practice, especially online, I'm going to share 9 hard truths you need to be aware of in this video. Uriel King here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. We help health practitioners, therapists, and coaches grow thriving coaching businesses without the grind. And over the past several years, helping thousands of therapists and practitioners, I'm going to share some lessons with you, some hard truths that will save you from years of frustration, burnout, and despair. So the first one here is we really have to consider stop trading time for money. We have been brought into this world of helping others, thinking that the only way to do so is by spending your time with them. Therefore, your patient or client's results are directly tied to your time. And as long as that's a truth, you can never have freedom and you will never have a business. You have a glorified job. And it doesn't matter if you charge $175 an hour or $1,000 an hour. That is a completely unscalable and therefore unsustainable model. So understanding that trading time for money is not going to help you get where you want to go. If you want to help more people, have more time and location freedom, and have a life, you have to be willing to step out of that model to be open-minded enough to help other people in a different fashion. I'll give you an example. So I'm not saying you have to exclusively get rid of one-on-one, because the reality is a lot of our clients come in and they start there. But what we help our clients move towards is more of a leveraged coaching model so that you're not dealing one-on-one and your client's results are actually dissociated from your time. For instance, one of our clients, Russell, who's a sex and porn addiction therapist, he had a 3-month waiting list in his clinic. And all of his work was one-on-one. He was burnt out. He had no time, no freedom, no life. And when he started working with us, he didn't know what that was going to look like to transition to more of a group-based program. He was apprehensive as to whether the men he was working with would be open enough to being vulnerable in that type of setting. Lo and behold, he has built a multiple 6-figure coaching practice that now helps dozens upon dozens of men at the same time, not him individual sessions every single day. His clients get better results. He's working about 50% fewer hours. He's making more money and he has more freedom in his life. And so I want to share this with you because this is Russell is just one of the many, many therapists that we've helped get out of the grind and shackles of one-on-one into helping clients achieve better results, because we all know community heals and isolation kills. And if you think that you are so special that your clients can only get help with your time, you will always be confined to that story and you will be burnt out for the rest of your life. All I'm asking you to consider is that there is a better way of helping clients. And if you don't know what that looks like, that's okay. Be open-minded to considering that there is a better way. Because I promise you right now, you have lots of colleagues who you may not even be aware of who are building beautiful online practices that are helping way more people while they're working less and making more money in the service of more people. Cool? The second hard lesson you need to be aware of is to start charging for an outcome, not your time. So this kind of segues from the first thing is, I don't care how much you get paid by the hour. It's irrelevant. You should be getting paid based on the outcome you help your clients create or achieve. So if someone comes in and says, I've got anxiety, depression, whatever the situation is you help them with, it's less about session by session. And it's like, cool, this is going to be a 4, 8, 16, 12-week process, and it's going to cost X, right? Let's call it $5,000. Now, what you don't want to think about in that process is, well, in that, you're going to get 10 one-on-one sessions with me, because again, there you go right back into commoditizing your expertise. And so now the prospect is thinking to themselves, okay, well, 5,000 divided by 10, so I'm paying $500 an hour, but this therapist charges $200 an hour. I'm going to get a better deal over here. You're going to lose playing that game, okay? It shouldn't matter how often you work with someone. The outcomes you help them achieve should be completely detached from the time you spend with them. So right now, as of this video, we have about 560 active clients that we coach in our coaching programs. I don't spend my one-on-one time working with every single one of those clients. And in fact, the amount of time I spend with them has no correlation with their results. And that's a beautiful thing for me, because I could literally remove myself completely out of the coaching, and our clients would still get amazing results. Now, I love coaching our clients, and therefore I do it in the way that makes sense for me on a weekly basis. But the thing is that their results do not require my time. How do you do this? Well, in our worlds, we call this the 3 C's. You build a curriculum that everyone goes through, and therefore you have to have the same clientele, single target market. They work through a self-directed curriculum. So even when you're not with them, they're watching you while they're on the treadmill, while they're getting ready for bed at night, while they're at their computer. It doesn't matter. You're walking them through a self-directed curriculum where they're taking more ownership over their own healing journey. Second is you build a community. That's the second C. A community of like-minded individuals who support each other. And then the third layer on top is your coaching, is your expertise, is where you come in for those nuances and the accountability. And that's how you build a much more scalable coaching business that produces better results for your clients and is completely detached from how much time you spend with them. The third hard truth is to recognize that word of mouth and social media are great, but if you want to build a scalable business, you cannot rely on them solely. For instance, most people that come into our world, the number one thing they want help with is getting clients predictably. And that's what we do better than anyone on this planet for health professionals and therapists. Because they come in and we'll ask them, well, how are you getting clients right now? And they're like, well, like referrals, like a doctor refers someone over. Cool. So if I were to ask you like next month, what are you projecting? If you can't answer that question with any valid data to support it, you don't have a business. And therefore, if you don't have that type of predictability, you're not going to be able to sleep at night. Because what's going to happen is you're going to hopefully have people fall into your lap in a way that's completely out of your control, unless you have a dialed in, systemized, and orchestrated way of generating referrals, which most people don't. So referrals and word of mouth are awesome. Okay? They're like the cherry on top. Social media is amazing as well. Content is the fuel of building trust in a very skeptical marketplace. However, once again, it is not reliable. And therefore, if you spend all your time on there, it's going to take a long time. It took me 7 years to cross $1 million with my first health business online that I started back in 2005. And all I did for those 7 years was create content. Now, it was awesome. I mean, I was living on poverty line income for half of that time, so it wasn't awesome. But it awesome in the sense that it was adding value to the world. The problem is that it took 7 years to cross $1 million. When I started Healthpreneur, we crossed $1 million in 7 weeks. How? Because we actually used a predictable, scalable system called the Perfect Client Pipeline, which is exactly what we install into our clients' businesses should we find a mutual fit for us to work with them. And when you have that, you can look at data on a daily basis to say, this is how much a lead's costing, this is how much I'm paying for a discovery call, this is how much I'm paying for a new client. And you can scale that because it relies, or it's based on running advertising on social media. Now, if you're not familiar with advertising, you don't definitely strongly discourage you from doing it if you don't have the right type of guidance. We help our clients at a very deep level with this type of stuff because we are the best at what we do. But again, advertising is so powerful because it guarantees you visibility, right? So the biggest problem with most businesses is that no one knows you exist. And it doesn't matter how good you are if no one knows who you are. So you have to be able to get visible. Advertising it guarantees visibility, but it doesn't guarantee conversions. So then the flip side of that is you also have to learn the skills to convert leads into paying clients, which is also something we spend a lot of time coaching our clients with. But nonetheless, if you don't have a predictable system for bringing people into your world, you will always be at the mercy for external forces, and you won't be in control of your destiny or your future. And that's not a good place to be in. Number 4, the best known therapist wins. I don't know if you know anyone in your space who's making more money than you, is more successful than you, and you look at them and you're like, how is that even possible? I have 500 million letters behind my name, or they're not as smart as I am, or they didn't go to the same school I went to. Do you know anyone like that? Probably. We all do. And it's very, very frustrating because the reality is it doesn't matter how good you are, how smart you are, if no one knows who you are. We live in a world which is essentially a glorified high school. It's a popularity contest. And the sooner you come to terms with that, the sooner you will grow a successful therapy coaching practice. Because there are many therapists out there who are so prideful that they're not willing to get out of their own way. And I share this not just with therapists, but health practitioners. The challenge of working with health professionals is that you're too smart for your own good, right? There's a lot of not smart people or less smart people that are massively successful in life because they don't overthink things. They're not trying to be perfectionists. They don't worry about what other people think of them. They just go. And the reality is that if no one knows you exist, what are you going to do, right? So you have to, I'm not saying you should ever compromise the quality of care you give to your patients or clients, because that's a given. Like, you're amazing at what it is you do, but if no one knows about you, then what's the point, right? So you have to be willing to learn the skills of marketing and sales. Like, they're the lifeblood of your business. And if you're too cool for school to learn that stuff and you want to outsource it, you will always be at the mercy for people that don't give a shit about your business. You will always be at the mercy of people that are less invested in your future than you are. And when people come to work with us, we're telling them, listen, we're going to be with you every step of the way. And we're going to build some stuff out for you and install it in your business. But we're not an agency. We're a transformational coaching business. And we will transform you as a human. And your business will transform as a result, because you will build the skills. You'll have the right systems in place. You'll have support. And if you don't build these skills and if you don't install these systems, you will never be in a different situation than you are right now in terms of being better, right? Because if no one knows about you, if you want to grow your income, you have to have more clients or charge more, or detach yourself from the time you're spending with clients. There's all sorts of little nuances here, but the reality is, like, the best known therapist wins. And this happens in every industry, whether we're talking to trainers or lawyers or dentists or contractors. The best known one wins. Now, in the long term, your reputation matters dramatically, because if you do shady work, well, your reputation will be tarnished very quickly with social media, reviews, etc. So I'm not saying we compromise the quality of care. I'm assuming you're amazing at what it is you do, and people just need to know about that, right? So you have to develop the skills of marketing and sales and self-promotion to put yourself out there. And it doesn't have to be icky or sticky, right? If we feel that way, it's simply because we're not good at something. Typically, when we don't like something, it's because we're not good at it, right? I don't really like ballroom dancing. It's partly because I'm not good at it, but I love soccer and I love tennis. It's because I'm very good at them, right? As you are for many things in your life. Fifth hard lesson is stop trying to help everyone. One of the first most important things we have to do in business, especially in a service-based business, is we have to narrow down to a single target market. And earlier I talked about how one of the most important ways to start to dissociate your time from your clients' outcomes is to build a curriculum. But you can't build a curriculum that everyone goes through if everyone's coming in with different issues, right? So you want to be the specialist for a very particular condition or problem. And we call this a profitable problem, which is essentially a problem that someone has to solve sooner than later. It's severe and it's persistent. So if you think about like anxiety as an example, I don't personally think anxiety is a great profitable problem, because although it can be persistent, it's probably not severe, right? Compared to panic attacks, which are much more severe and maybe a little bit less persistent. But the reality is, like, people will pay to solve a bleeding neck problem, not a stubbed toe. So when we're narrowing down, you want to be known as the specialist in your market. Like, no one willingly seeks out a generalist, right? Here's the thing is, like, you're probably getting all sorts of different people falling into your lap because of word of mouth and referrals. But as soon as you proactively put yourself out there and start to actually engage in marketing, you can't say, like, I'm the generalist who helps everyone. Like, no one would, like, obviously choose that unless they had a very close friend who referred you or referred them to you. Like, you wouldn't go to a buffet expecting the best Italian food. You go to the best Italian restaurant to get the best Italian food. So we all want the specialist. No one wants the generalist. And then the flip side to that is, do specialists get paid more? Yeah. Brain surgeon versus GP, 100%. Okay, so you have to really understand that, number one, you're never going to help everyone in the first place, like, unless you're going to live a million lifetimes. Two is, even if you narrow down to a very particular target market, whether it's panic attacks or trauma, within trauma, like a type of trauma, whatever you want, right? Like, you will still not be able to serve everyone in that market for your entire lifetime. There are so many people with whatever the condition is or whatever the problem is. And yes, you will alienate people, but again, you weren't going to serve them anyways, right? So the only way to free yourself from the one-on-one grind is to create more leverage through some degree of automation, which we call a curriculum in this case. And the only way to do that is to have everyone on the same train, on the same track, toward the same destination. And that means we have to narrow things down to a single target market instead of trying to help everyone. The sixth hard lesson, be willing to invest in yourself and your business. I don't know how many years you spent in school. It's probably a lot. And you probably spent a lot of money to become very smart. Great job. But it's shocking how little professionals in the health and mental health space spend or invest in themselves in terms of their professional and business development. And again, part of the reason for that is because people fall into your lap from referrals and word of mouth, okay? But in order to escape that, you have to be proactive with how you build your business. So if I were to ask you, what is your churn? And you're like, what does that even mean? I'm not talking about churning butter. If you don't know your churn rate, you don't have a business. If you don't understand how much, like, if I ask you, what is your CAC to LTV ratio? You're like, Yuri, what language are you speaking? You don't have a business. And I'm not trying to like point fingers and make you feel bad here. I'm helping you recognize the massive flaws in a broken system that doesn't serve you or your patients. I've been in this world for a long time. I lost my hair at the age of 17. That's what got me into the world of health. And I've been through the system. And I've worked with a lot of practitioners as a patient, and I've served thousands as their coach. And part of our mission at Healthpreneur is to fundamentally disrupt a sick care system that doesn't do shit for the people we're trying to help. And so part of this is recognizing that if we want to be better at helping and reaching more people, we have to build better businesses. And I just gave you 2 examples of metrics that most people have no idea about. But even if we just make it more simple, being willing to invest in yourself to understand how to run a business, developing a CEO mindset of understanding what it takes to acquire clients, to retain them, to deliver amazing results, and understanding the mechanics of what it takes to build a business. Because a lot of therapists, especially in private practice, like if they're escaping the system, they bought themselves a job. They don't have a business, at least not in my experience. You got a cushy clinic, or maybe it's online. Maybe you're dealing with some insurance, maybe not. But here's the thing. Let me ask you this. If you took a week vacation and you went to the beach and hung out for a week and you didn't see a single patient or client during that week, what happens to your income during that 7-day period? Does it go up? Does it go down? Or does it stay the same? If it stays the same or goes down, then what that tells me is that your revenue is 100% dependent upon your time, which means you have a service-based job. Okay, so you purchased a job. That's cool, right? Well, I mean, it's not cool. It is what it is, but that's the nature of it. Now, the other thing to that is, while you're away, do your clients get any help? No, because they're not speaking with you. So what we help our clients do instead is you can take a week off if you like, and your clients will still get better results, and your revenue can stay the same or grow. How? Because you've built a business. A business is a collection of systems that works on the behalf of the owner in the service of the people it's serving. And it produces a profit for the owner independent of the owner's involvement. So it's not to say that you completely just disregard the people you're serving, but if you do want to take a day off or you do want to take a week off, it's not that your revenue goes through the floor, because your revenue has nothing to do with how much time you spend with your patients or clients. Making sense? Cool. So in order to do that, in order to make that happen, like, you have to be willing to invest in coaching, mentorship, to develop yourself as a business owner. Like, you're amazing technically, like your technical expertise is amazing around what you do, but your business expertise might be like tiny in comparison. And the reality is, like, unless your business acumen matches your technical acumen, it's going to be a struggle, right? And so I really, really encourage you to be willing to invest in yourself, and don't look for the cheapest option. Like, would you go to the cheapest school? Would you look for the cheapest, like, whatever? No, like, you want the best. Seek out the best value, not the cheapest price, because in life, you always get what you pay for. Promise you that. Okay, the 7th hard lesson that you want to really recognize as a therapist is to be able to leverage systems for consistency. So systems, there's a variety of systems we can have in a business. We can have systems on the marketing front, on the sales front, on delivery, operationally. I'll just talk about 2, okay? So 1 is the system to bring clients into your world. And I mentioned this earlier. We call it a perfect client pipeline. It's a 4-step process. We have a traffic source, which is essentially advertising that comes into an evergreen 24/7 webinar. It's like a signature talk you speaking from stage virtually, if you will, that's working on your behalf. So right now, as I'm recording this video and as you're watching this video, I have other people somewhere out there who are watching my masterclass, my webinar that recorded a long time ago that's still providing value and working on my behalf. Okay? So from there, we invite people to book a call with you if they meet the criteria you're looking for. And then the only thing you're doing that's not automated in that process is actually having discovery calls with potential clients. So that's a system, right? It's a system that largely works independent of your effort. And that's how you bring clients in almost on autopilot. Another system is on the delivery side. So I talked about curriculum, right? So we call this a dream come true system. How do you build or how do you help your clients create dream come true results without you trading time for money? So check this out. Right now, I'm shooting this video for you. And I have hundreds of clients who are watching me inside of our coaching program in a series of curriculum-based training videos. Maybe somebody's watching a video about how I'm walking them through how to set up their first ad campaign. Or they're watching a video of me walking them through the curriculum builder to show them how to build up the very curriculum that we're kind of talking about right here. Or maybe they're taking discovery calls and they're dealing with some objections and they're not sure how to handle it. Hey, guess what? They're watching those videos too. And I have nothing to do with that. I shot the videos, I created the curriculum, and now our clients get to move through that on an evergreen basis. So if we brought in one client right now, 10 clients tomorrow, 1 million next week, they all go through the same process and it's completely detached from my time. Now, I will continually improve the quality of that curriculum over time based on where we're seeing clients get stuck or they have questions, but I'm not answering the same question 1 million times with every single client. So if you find yourself in situations where you are saying the same thing over and over and over again, and you're thinking to yourself, when is this over? That's a great sign that you can start to build more leverage and systems on the delivery side. If you think of the word system, it's a really simple acronym. Saves you serious time, energy, and money. That's essentially what a system is. And if you don't have that, well, it's pretty hard to build a business. So you want to be open-minded to starting to create the right systems for different aspects of your business. But I think the two big ones, marketing and delivery, because those are the two biggest bottlenecks in a service-based business. Okay, the 8th hard lesson, and this ties back to something I mentioned a few moments ago, is that don't be afraid to say no. And what I mean by the two fronts. So one is be okay telling people, no, I can't work with you because I don't serve people outside this particular vertical. So we have a client who came on a little while ago and he's like crushed it out of the, he made like $54,000 in his first week, which was amazing. And then he sends me a private message and he's like, hey, my brother's a lawyer and I have no doubt he could benefit from this coaching program as well. Like, would you guys be open to having a conversation with him? And I said, hey man, I really appreciate you thinking of us for that, but the answer is no. And the reason for that is because we, healthpreneur, are not lawyerpreneur. We made a decision to exclusively work with health professionals, therapists, coaches in this space because that's who I am at my core. That's the market we want to serve. And yes, I could certainly help lawyers. I could certainly help accountants. I could help contractors, but I choose not to. So I politely said no. And he said, hey man, I totally respect that and just thought I'd ask. And when you know what you stand for, it's a lot easier to say no to opportunities like that. I mean, that's an opportunity that, we potentially could have helped someone, brought revenue into the business, but it's okay to say no to things because the more you say no, the more you create space for the real opportunities for your business in your future. So part of that is being very clear about who you're serving and who you're not serving, obviously. The second thing with respect to saying no is being very clear about where you want to go. Like, what does the vision look like for your future? Because when you're very clear and focused on where you're headed, it's very easy to say no to everything else. And that's really important in today's day and age when like every third post you see is a sponsored post. Like essentially it's an ad about the latest tactic, app, widget, thing, whatever. And it's very easy to be pulled in a million different directions. I look at how I coach our clients sometimes and it's almost like when I'm working with my 4 kids, like it's like, hey, can you just stay on the sidewalk? Don't run on the road. That'd be awesome. So it's like, put the blinders on and just do this one thing. Just like all that other stuff can work 100%. Like whatever it is you do, you can make a killing with. You could do amazingly well, but you can't do amazingly well at 10 different things at the same time. So part of what, we help our clients with is just to keep them on the path, right? It's like, yeah, I get that I understand that, but just put your blinders on because that can work for sure. But the grass is not greener on the other side. It's greenest where you water it. So it doesn't matter what type of business model or marketing strategy you're employing. I mean, certainly certain ones are faster or better than others, but any of them can work. Okay, it's just a matter of how fast they work and how effectively they kind of match the type of business you want to build. But you have to focus on one of them. And that means you have to be willing to say no to things, right? It could be, again, the stuff we talked about, but it could also be saying no to people. It can be saying no to people in your life who don't support the vision, right? Like we had our big Healthpreneur Live events a couple of weeks ago in Scottsdale, and we brought in hundreds of our clients and our team. It was amazing. And what's funny is that I asked them, like, how many of you guys have family members or friends who really understand what you do? And no one's like, hands are not up. And I was like, well, welcome to the room of weirdos, right? We're all a bunch of weirdos and crazies, and no one understands what it is we do. No one ever says, hey, how's that like medical thing? How's that doctor thing going? No one ever says that, okay? But what people do say is, how's that that internet thing you're doing? How's that going? One of our clients, Sarah, she was on stage talking about her journey. She went from like sitting in the back of the room the year before to doing now more than $1.4 million in 12 months. And she was sharing part of her journey. She retired her husband, and her husband now does a lot of the accounting for her business. So she literally employs her husband in the business. And her mom was asking her, so when is so-and-so going to get a job? And she's like, Mom, I mean, that's so cute, but he's our CFO. And she's like, oh, but really, when's he getting a real job? And it's just like a lot of people don't understand what it is you're trying to build, especially online, because it's outside of the mold. It's very much like online dating was 25, 30 years ago. But now online dating is the number one way people meet their significant other, not just like a fling, but their significant other. And that is a massive shift. And this is the flag we've been waving since the inception of Healthpreneur. And initially people thought, no, like you're crazy. People are never going to want to work online. I'm like, no, trust me, this is where the future is going. And I'm not saying there isn't a time and place for brick and mortar, especially for maybe some hands-on work here and there. But as a therapist, there is no reason that you have to see people in person. Like I've not seen that to produce any better results than virtually. It's just such a huge opportunity that a lot of people are, starting to wake up to. So being able to say no to people in your life who don't get your vision, who don't understand you, and starting to say yes to environments and people who will support you, because it's very hard to break the mold and do things on your own. And everyone around you who is closest to you, they're not really going to be pushing you up. They're going to be pulling you back because they want the old version of you that they're comfortable with. Okay. And the ninth hard lesson I'll share with you is that your mindset is everything. So at our Healthpreneur Live events, it's a 3-day event. And I told everyone from stage, I said, I'm going to share one useful thing with you this weekend, and everything else will be transformational. And I shared one tactical thing with them. The rest of the 3 days was 100% mindset. And as this shirt says, it says, be great, right? You've probably heard the saying, be, do, have. It's not the other way around. It doesn't like have, do, be. Like I'll be happy when. No. It's I am happy. And as a result of that, I get the things that I want. And so the whole focus in that event was mindset in one way or another. And people left the event, and I see this every time. We've done this 8 years in a row. It's like, guys, like you will leave this event a fundamentally different human. Your business will start to pick up even if you don't do anything differently tactically. And that's because energy is everything, and everything is energy. And energy starts with our mindset, our vibration, our frequency. And there's a lot of work that like goes into building a business because your business is a reflection of your mindset. If you think of the journey of business, it's very up and down. And that's a reflection of human emotion. And that human emotion is just us overthinking the future that doesn't exist. It exists only in our minds. And we tend to project a future that our primitive brain wants to cast based on past shit that we haven't gotten over. And so a lot of this journey of building a business is so valuable to you becoming a better version of you, because you have to move through your own garbage. It's like you have therapy for yourself every single day as a business owner. I've been in business online for 20 years. I've been through a lot of like macro events, whether it's, 2008 and like all sorts of different recessions. But my business has only continued to grow over the years. So that's because I choose to create my own economy. I don't live in the outside world. I create my own world. And that's 100% a mindset. That's all it is. I don't give a shit what's happening with the economy. I don't care if the dollar tanks. I don't care if there are missiles flying across the globe. I mean, I care, obviously, but it doesn't affect me. Because how do I mean, number one, if I can't control it, why am I going to even think about it? What can I do is I can help shine my light and serve those around me in a way that hopefully is a beacon for them to go out and do their work. So I focus on what I control, and I let go of everything else. And this is, my journey over 20 years maybe didn't start off like that, where a lot of it was like worry, anxiety, and doubt. And you have to move through this. I had a client ask me recently, he's like, hey, do you still do a lot of mindset work? I'm like, dude, I do this is a daily practice. And it's not even a practice. It's just part of living. I've got 4 kids, right? You build a big business. You have 4 kids. You have a health issue, at least when I was 17. These are 3 beautiful gifts in my life that have allowed me to grow. So I learn a lot from my kids. They're the best mirror that, bring up a lot of my shit. I get to work on that. My business is another opportunity where I have moments where I'm like, what's happening? But I told my clients, I said, listen, I do this work on a daily basis. And I'll tell you the big shift for me is that this entrepreneurial journey that seems like a roller coaster, for me, it's now a straight line. I don't go through the ups and downs emotionally. There's no good and bad. It just is. Now, again, I'm not perfect. There are moments where you kind of slip back into old patterns, but the key is that it's more or less even. And part of that is this resilience of when things quote unquote don't work out, it's recognizing that they're always working out and you bounce right back. Because here's the thing is I've recognized that everything is always working out for us, even if we can't make sense for it in the moment. But we'll look back on things 5 years down the road and we're like, oh, remember that little thing I was worried about? Oh my God, it was the best thing of all time, right? You had that relationship that didn't work out and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to find anyone. And then it's like, oh my God, thank God that person's not in my life anymore. And this is part of the journey. And that's why I say your mindset is everything. So be and do have. Another way of thinking about this is feelings lead to thoughts, thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to results. So if you feel like shit all the time, you're not going to take the right actions to have the types of results you say you want. But everyone's working backwards in this world where they're like, oh, I want the fancy stuff. I want the money. I want the cars. I want the house. I want the stuff. But it's like, no. What is all that stuff going to do for you? It's going to help me feel free and at peace. So it's like, well, why don't you just feel like that to start? And then everything else will just kind of flow a lot more easily. So anyways, your mindset is everything. As I say, your business growth follows your personal growth. So there we have it. So those are 9 hard lessons that I want to share with you, therapists, who's looking to build your private practice online. If you resonate with this, if this has found its way into somewhere in your mind of being valuable, subscribe to the channel. I've got tons of other stuff to help you grow a thriving business online. And if you'd like our help with any of this stuff, I'm sure we have a link in the description below for how we might be able to help install some of these systems and skills into your business and into your DNA to help you help more people and build a beautiful business in the process. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Yuri. I'll see you soon. I've been building businesses online since 2005. In this video, I'm going to share with you 20 years of no BS online business advice. Grab a pen and paper. You're going to want to take some notes for this one.